Hey, it's Dave from Cast Guitars. So I wanted to do something with Evertune Bridges for a while now. We don't see them often enough through the shop, and now we're starting to see them more now that they're becoming more popular, and I'm really happy about that because I really like these bridges. Um, it's a very cool concept. It works very well. If you know me, you know I'm a huge Floyd Rose guy. I'm a huge Kaler guy. Anything mechanical, anything that does the balance between the springs and the strings, I just really enjoy. I enjoy setting them up. I enjoy using them. I enjoy everything about them because of the mechanical aspect of it. The Evertune bridges are that times 10. What they're doing is really cool. As a guitar player, I will tell you the first time you use one, it's bizarre because, you know, we put strings on, we tune up to the note and we're done. With these, it's different, and it gets really weird if you're not familiar with them. So I'm going to try to take that weirdness out of it a little bit as quickly and as layman's term wise as I can. There's some really great instructions on Evertune's website on how to set these up and restring them and things like that. So check out the directions. They're really clear. They're easy enough to use, but they're in depth. For me to do that here is kind of silly when you can go look at the directions. I just kind of wanted to give you a quick techie thing on this. So what these bridges do is, and I'll get you some close-ups as to what all the adjustments are so you know towards the end here. But just to give you an idea of what they do is you put strings on, say you're restringing, you put your strings on, you start tuning up, you're tuning your tuning key, and you're ramping up, you hear the note coming up to what you want, and then what'll happen with these is all of a sudden that note levels out. And you'll keep turning that tuning key, and that note stays right where it's at. And this is the bizarre part. I remember the first time I was playing with one, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Because I had no idea. I didn't look them up first or anything. This was way back when. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? This is weird. My tuning key's not working. Well, it's because the mechanics in them is meant to hit a certain point, and then it keeps that string in tune. So it makes your tuning key useless when you're in this second stage. So here's what I did, is I printed this out just to kind of give you an idea. So what happens is when you put new strings on or when you're tuning up whatever, you're in here, right? You're tuning, you're turning your tuning key, your string's coming up to note, and then all of a sudden it levels out. Well, this is their zone 2, what they call their sweet spot. This is because this is where that Evertune bridge is working. It's doing what it's supposed to do, which means it's keeping that string in tune. And that's why you hit that note and it just levels out. You can't make it go higher or lower or anything with your tuning keys. So that means neck warp or somebody comes along and bangs your guitar or whatever, it's going to stay in tune, which is really cool. So this is your sweet spot. And then if you keep tuning that tuning key along this whole time, eventually you come out of that sweet spot and then it starts to tune like a normal guitar again. So when you restring these and you put your strings on and everything, you can tune it up to that sweet spot and then come in here and adjust your actual tuning, because then down here acts like your tuning keys. And I'll show you the adjustments when I do a close-up. But there's a little adjustment on each saddle that acts as your tuner. And you can just set it and be done with it. However, you're not going to get string bends or anything like that when you want that string to go out of tune. It won't go out of tune. That's the other bizarre part. Because guys bring them to me and they're like, well, you know, I can't, something's wrong. It's not, I'm trying to bend and I can't, it stays the same note because it's not set up right. And I'm going to show you where that needs to be in a minute. But all your tuning then will be down at your bridge. So what you have to do when you're restringing these and setting them up is you have to come all the way through this sweet spot zone until right where it starts to come up again. Right when you hear that string, as you're tuning your tuning keys like normal, right when you hear that string then again start to tune, you back it off. So you'll coming along here, and all of a sudden that tuning key starts to work again right here, and you're out of zone 2, you're out of that sweet spot, and you're in zone 3, which again is where the bridge will not work. The bridge is not doing what it's supposed to do. So once you start hitting zone 3, you back it back off until you're just right in the end of zone 2. This puts you back in the sweet spot, but it also allows that when you bend that string, you're going to go a little out of tune sharp, and when you do, you're coming up into your zone 3, which will allow you to hear that bend. But as soon as you let off that bend, you drop back into zone 2 and everything goes back into tune. So it's confusing, but it works really well. So what you want to do when you're restringing these or when you're tuning them is you want to go all the way through your sweet spot. And then once you start to hear it tune again, you back it off a little bit till you're back in your sweet spot. And that's right where you want to be. Now you got to play the game like you do with the Floyd Rose. And you want to get in that sweet spot and get all your tuning where you want it. Because as you come out of that sweet spot and back it back off, your tuning may change a little bit. You're going to have to kind of do that balancing act like you do with a Floyd Rose between the strings and the springs. But I would put everything, get into this sweet spot, put everything in tune, and then go to zone 3 and back it off and see where your tuning's at and then retune, and then you're good to go. So that's pretty much how they work. That's what they do. They have 3 zones. You want to be in the middle zone, the second zone, but in order to get it playable for bends and things like that, you have to break the second zone and just head into the third zone enough to back it back off into the third or into the second zone again with the tuning key, and then make all your adjustments here. So let me do a close-up of the bridge here, and I'll show you what everything is on the bridge so you know what your adjustments are. There's 3 sets of set screws. Now you probably won't see the ones underneath here, but there's a set in the back like they have on normal, hardtail bridges. That on the normal hardtail bridges, these are your intonation screws to move your saddles forward and backward, and these are the same thing. So your intonation is done back here. Your action to move your saddles up and down is all done here, kind of like it would be on a regular bridge, except they'd be per saddle, but they're done right here. So this is your action height. This is your intonation underneath. And then inside each saddle, there's a little Allen key, and these bridges usually come with their own little tuning key, but they're just set screws. So inside each saddle has an individual set screw. That's what would be your tuning key. So you need to tune, you want to drop to, like this one's in drop D. So this one came down from E when it was tuned originally down to a drop D, all right here. And then everything gets tuned like you would tune a regular guitar, all right here. So those are your 3 adjustments for the bridge. Once you're in zone 2, everything gets done right here because nothing else will get done at your headstock. And that's it. I mean, they're relatively straightforward once you get to know them. It's getting to know them and getting used to them that's sometimes odd. So there you go. I hope this helps.